I think I may have found one of the best smartphones for its price right now, and that is the Xiaomi 15T Pro, which I've been using daily for the past few weeks and which surprised me in more ways than I expected. Xiaomi 15T Pro caught my attention right from the day it was announced, mainly because of its design approach, which is something I don't see very often anymore in this price segment. Instead of going for an aggressive flashy look, Xiaomi chose a cleaner, more restrained design that feels very stylish, balanced and honestly quite mature without screaming for attention. As soon as you pick the phone up, you'll notice the matte finish on the back, which feels very pleasant to the touch and does a very good job of resisting fingerprints, while the aluminum frame adds rigidity and gives the device a solid premium feeling. The phone weighs 210 grams, which is pretty reasonable considering its size, and the back panel is made out of fiberglass, something that should also help with durability in case of accidental drops. On top of that, we get an IP68 rating, so dust, rain or even accidental splashes are not something you really need to worry about here. One small detail I personally appreciate is the camera module, which is far less intrusive than what we see nowadays. It sits very close to the body, it doesn't wobble excessively on the desk and overall blends nicely with the phone's design, which is impressive considering the serious camera hardware inside it and the Leica branding that immediately hints at Xiaomi's ambitions in photography. The volume buttons are positioned well on the right side, with the power button sitting just below them, and through my time using the phone I had absolutely no issues with the responsiveness or the comfort, even when using the phone one-handed. Overall, the ergonomics feel well thought out, and it's clear that Xiaomi paid attention to the small details here, and I really appreciate it. If you're wondering about the colors, the phone is available in several different options, with the Mocha Gold version being my personal favorite, but the black one is not bad also. Since I'm personally used to larger smartphones, I felt right at home with the Xiaomi 15T Pro, mainly thanks to the large 6.83-inch AMOLED display with 144Hz refresh rate, which is definitely something you don't see every day in this price range. The resolution is perfectly adequate for the size, and the peak brightness can reach up to 3200 nits, although that peak applies only about for 25% of the screen area. From my experience, this is a very high quality display with excellent color accuracy and pleasing color reproduction, and the support for HDR10+ and Dolby Vision. Out of the box, the screen did appear slightly cool with a bit of a bluish tint, but this is easily corrected in the settings by enabling ambient color adaptation or selecting a different color profile. When watching YouTube content, I was impressed by how accurately the colors were rendered compared to what creators actually intended, which is why I have no real complaints here with the display. The protection though is handled by the Gorilla Glass 7i, which may not be the most premium option available today, but in this segment it is a reasonable and acceptable choice. The stereo speakers are a nice addition, offering a clear and loud audio with good left-to-right balance and decent sound density, especially considering we are talking about a smartphone in the price range of around 650 to 700 euro. The camera system on the Xiaomi 15T Pro is definitely worth talking about, as it features a triple camera setup with a 50-megapixel main sensor, the Light Fusion 900, with a wide aperture and optical image stabilization, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera with a 120 degrees field of view, and a 50-megapixel telephoto camera offering 5 times optical zoom with optical stabilization. The main camera delivers images with good dynamic range, strong detail and pleasing colors in most of the scenarios. Occasionally the contrast can appear slightly lower than expected, but this is not a major issue and it can be adjusted with using different color profiles. Optical stabilization helps a lot, especially when shooting on the move or in low light, and overall the results are consistent both during the day and the night. Xiaomi also includes Leica's authentic and vibrant profiles, and I tend to prefer the authentic mode more for a natural look. The ultra-wide camera is where some of the compromises start to show, mainly due to its 12-megapixel resolution. Detail is acceptable, but in low light situation or when shooting directly into strong light sources, you may notice some lens flares and some slight drop in the image quality, so that's why this is not one of my top favorite cameras in this phone. The telephoto camera, on the other hand, performs very well with the 5 times optical zoom being absolutely useful for almost everything, and the optical stabilization making a noticeable difference in this focal length. Color remains nicely saturated, and while contrast can once again appear slightly lower in certain scenarios, overall performance remains solid even in lower light. Switching between cameras and making burst photos does not introduce any lag into the phone, so everything is absolutely smoothly working, everything is great, and in my opinion the overall package of camera Plus here is very adequate for the price point, or even it may deliver a little bit more than expected. The selfie camera uses a 32 megapixel sensor, and while the results are decent in most scenarios, I still prefer using the main camera whenever possible, even with just turning the phone around and filming myself. And when talking about filming myself, the video capabilities here are another strong point, with the main camera capable of recording up to 8K at 30 FPS, while the other cameras can record up to 4K with 120 frames per second. The selfie camera though is limited to 4K 30, and I will leave you some sample footage so you can judge for yourself if you like the video or if you do not like it, and make sure to write it down below in the comments if you actually like it. Performance-wise, the Xiaomi 15T Pro is powered by MediaTek's latest Dimensity 9400 Plus, built on a 3nm process, featuring an octa-core CPU and the Immortalis G925 GPU. The phone I tested comes with 12GB of LPDDR5X RAM and 512GB of UFS 4.1 storage, which is incredibly fast, and that's great. I also ran some synthetic benchmarks in AnTuTu, where the results were excellent, and in terms of thermal behavior, the phone remains well controlled during normal and even moderately heavy use. You can feel some warmth only after around an hour of sustained CPU and GPU load, something that is also confirmed by the throttling test. And this exact thermal test right here is at 60 minutes right now, and this is the graph that you can get. The hardware setup is more than enough for heavy multitasking and for long gaming sessions, and I tested it with both Call of Duty Mobile and Genshin Impact, where frame rates were actually capped and they remained stable with no drops, no stutters, no noticeable lag or anything like this. For performance alone, this phone can easily satisfy around 99% of the users, although it's worth mentioning that the USB port is still limited to USB 2.0, which means slower transfer speeds of large files like video footage, for example. On the software side, the phone runs HyperOS 3, which looks clean, feels smooth and offers plenty of customization options, from icons to always-on displays and smaller visual details throughout the system. So far I haven't noticed any major bugs, and while there is some pre-installed bloatware, it can be easily removed, which feels like a fair trade-off considering the price of the phone itself. I also like the wide range of AI features available here, including AI writing tools, speech recognition, translation, search, dynamic wallpapers and stuff like this, with Gemini integration being one of the highlights for me because I personally use it every single day. Everything is organized in a very well-looking manner and very easy to access, and HyperOS 3 also brings solid ecosystem features if you already own other Xiaomi devices like tablets or wearables. If you want to connect your smartphone to your tablet or stuff like this, you can do it with no issues at all. You can project your smartphone to your tablet and everything is very easy to use, and I see that Xiaomi are developing more and more into that direction. And of course everything has to be powered, and that's why we have a 5500 mAh battery supporting 90W wired and 50W wireless charging, although the proprietary charger is not included in the box, at least in the European Union. For me and for my usage, the battery life has been excellent, and even with heavy days with gaming, with photography and general use, I usually end the day with around 20 to 25% battery remaining, which is absolutely great considering that the phone is not that thick at all, and for the battery life I really cannot complain. I like how many hours I get from it. I also like the fact that the quick charging here is on point, but of course, as I mentioned, you have to buy your own charger. To wrap things up, I believe that the Xiaomi 15T Pro is one of the strongest value for money smartphones available right now, and it's very hard to find a real competitor around this price point. You get excellent performance, a very good display, a capable camera system, a smooth overall experience which remained consistent throughout the 3 weeks that I have been using it, keeping in mind that Xiaomi has history with their operating system and the bugs inside. I didn't experience any of it, so overall I can say that this is one of the phones that I can easily suggest if you're looking for a smartphone in this exact price range. I'll leave you a link down below in the description so you can check all the specifications of the Xiaomi 15T Pro. This video is not sponsored by anyone, but if you want to support me in any way, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel for upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye.